Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Digital Combat Simulator Blackshark 2 KA-50. This is a special stream in that the most recent Blackshark video featuring the Courier Mission is 8 years old. This is not going to be a regular part of my channel, but for the sake of preserving the historical value of the helicopter, and in case new fans want to get into Digital Combat Simulator, I felt that having a more updated playthrough of the Courier Mission with more modern graphics and modern changes to the Eagle Dynamics Digital Combat Simulator modules would be beneficial to anyone who's interested in getting into the flight sim genre before Flight Simulator comes out. So if this is something that interests you, this is the helicopter module. It's Russian helicopter. There's plenty of other modules you can choose from. The Courier Mission is the one I'm most familiar with. Is the one I've played the most, and it's also one of the most difficult ones because you really need to learn how to control your helicopter with it. So if you're interested in a simulator that has very realistic helicopter flight modeling, then watch this stream and hopefully enjoy. Alright. The audio might get a little bit cut off in the top. It's in Russian. I don't speak Russian, so I will... you can see all the dialogue in the upper right. Alright, we're gonna start it. Here we go.
Капитан, борт заправить не успеваем, зато
Listen,
успели
Captain, we couldn't
подвесить
fuel the
пару
bird in
ПТБ.
time, but we
На всё
did
про
get you
всё
a pair of
должно
external
хватить.
tanks. Oh no, it should be
Второе,
enough.
погода
The
дрянь,
weather is
возьми
crap though, so better
КВМ на
take
всякий.
NVG just in case.
На
You
всю
have 45
операцию
minutes for the
45
whole
минут.
operation. Go.
Вопросы есть? Вопросов нет. Выполнять.
Okay, so one of the first things you may notice, if any of you have played Blackshark Shark prior to all the engine updates, this mission was completely at night. Now it's at dawn, so there's really no need to include the night vision goggles because it's bright enough to pretty much see without them. Alright, so gonna turn on the cockpit light here. I'm gonna call the ground crew. I want them to turn on the external power. I don't need to do this, but I do it anyway.
Подключить питание. Принял.
Ground crews copy.
Командир, наземное электропитание подключено.
Ground power is on. So normally you have helmet mounted devices. So you can't see it right now because I need power to the helicopter. But essentially a helmet mounted device will let you get a targeting module that will control the TV monitor that's in the middle of the cockpit here. That would be this one. So this is called the Shikval. You use it to target your missiles, basically all your weapons. It's your laser designator essentially. Just even though I don't need it, I'm going to ask the ground crew to give me the NVGs. So we'll set it up.
Установить ОВМ. Принял.
Now I'm not a pro at this module.
Командир, ОВМ установлено.
Many times I have forgotten to turn certain things on and then I'm wondering why it's not working. So I'm just gonna do my best to walk you guys through it. If you guys need a more detailed walkthrough, you're better off following one of the more hardcore flight simulators. Flight simmers. I'm more of a hobbyist. So if you're really interested in getting into the nitty-gritty of different aircraft and all that sort, you might want to check out the Grim Reapers YouTube channel. They have a lot of in-depth videos on the different modules. Alright, I'm going to turn on the power switch to the L140. Don't really remember what it's for. UV26, we're going to turn that on. All operational. One of the most important things that I forgot to turn on is this INU. The INU is basically what tells your computer the direction your helicopter is going in. So if you don't turn that on, your computer's not going to know where to go. And I found this out the hard way when I had forgotten to turn on the INU, and all of a sudden I was flying out into the middle of the ocean. So we're going to turn that on. And we're going to go through the power routine. So right now we've got batteries. Sorry for the shake. I do not have a track IR set up. So this is all being controlled through the joystick. Alright, batteries. 1, 2, those are on. External. Well, I technically don't need the external, so we can leave that off. The invert, we don't want to turn on, because then it's reliant on the engine speed to power the systems. Like this one right here, the Abris. We're going to turn that on. Starting BIOS. Alright, let's get the fuel pumps going while that's powering up. The fuel shut off. APU, I gotta remember to turn that off. I always forget to turn it off, and then I end up flying an entire mission with the APU enabled. VHF, this is all for the radio. And this cockpit, when you boot up the game, if you buy the Blackshark module, it's going to be in Russian. If you don't want it to be in Russian, go to Options. And then I believe, let's see, was it System or Special? Okay, we might not be able to see it in-game, but essentially, in the options menu, there's going to be an option to switch it to English instead of Russian. It's a little bit convoluted. You're going to have to dig for it. I know there were other videos for it. But trust me, you can change all the buttons into English if you go looking for it. Alright, the emergency ejection seat, we want that on. Weapons control system, yes. I don't need the collision lights right now because we are pretty much good to go. Okay. Standby altitude indicator. Rotor tip lights. Formation lights. Lighting ADI switch. MVG, even though I don't really need it. Cockpit lighting. And I noticed, I'm not sure if this is a new bug that was introduced, but the lighting auxiliary switch doesn't seem to do anything anymore. It used to light up the rear panels, but now all the panels turn on when I hit the front switch. So that's a bit new. Alright, so I know you guys are probably eager to get this bird flying, you know, get the rotors running. So we're gonna add some fuel by removing the engine cutoff valves. So we're gonna raise these. So now both the left and the right engine will be receiving fuel. Actually, this is the engine cutoff. So this is not necessarily for fuel. We already did that in the other panel. This is just for, I don't know, I guess starting the engine. Again, I'm not a hardcore simmer. I'm still considered a novice or intermediate when it comes to this helicopter, but I know enough to at least fly it. Alright, so that's on. We're going to power on the APU. And remember, I got to remember to turn it off. Alright, there's the engine. Now I'm going to ask the ground crew to disable the electric.
Отключить питание. Принял.
Now you see with the NVG, it's hard to see because of the
Командир,
brightness.
сектор питания отключено.
So I'm going to adjust the helmet device brightness, lower this. And now, this is ready for, I can look around without any problems, no blind. But again, because they changed the environment settings on this mission, it's not really needed anymore. Alright, let's start up the left engine. Oh, and the black lever that I pressed over here, this is the brake. So once that's down, it means that the rotors will spin. And also when you're landing, the rotors will stop spinning. Alright, here we go. Left engine, start it up. There we go, engine 1 is powering up. Here we go. I love this part, to be honest with you. You also notice that there are no weapons on this mission, just external fuel tanks. I'm also pretty sure I turned on additional switches that I didn't need to. Alright. Propellers are spinning. Let's go through the rest of our checklist, make sure we got everything on. I don't really remember why we turned this on. I don't think you always have to turn it on. But supposedly it's anti-ice. And usually it'll show up here, whether it's on or not. Alright, so that's one engine on. Let's hit the other one. Switching to the right engine. Starting it up. Watching the RPM. Engine 2 is kicking in. At this point, we can close the cockpit with right control and C. Alright. Cockpit is now closed. RPMs are increasing. So while this is powering up, I'm going to get the navigation all set up. We're going to search for the waypoint. This is the brightness of the Abris. I don't even know if that's pronouncing it right, but click search. What we're trying to do is we're trying to find a car that failed to deliver the orders for a boat. So we set the 2 waypoint. Now we can see a yellow marker here on the map. And I usually like to adjust the scale a little bit just to get an idea of where I'm going. Completely optional. Okay, we still got other systems that need to power on. So the targeting system is coming on. And we don't need the laser, and we don't need to switch anything else into combat mode. Alright, Akron. That's auxiliary. There used to be the Akron button back here, but now I don't really remember. Sorry. And I seem to be missing my HUD. So again, I forgot to turn something on. Alright, signal flare system is on. You usually don't have to mess with these, thankfully. I do have to release the this used to be a red dial, now it's just a gray dial. You gotta unlock this. Okay, and I'm sure any hardcore simmer is gonna be like, "What are you doing? You forgot to turn this on!" But, you know. It is what it is, right? Switch this to record, operational. Alright. Do I have everything I need powered on? External DC, we don't need that anymore. The battery is on. This is not needed anymore. Just want to make sure I have everything I need powered on. Lighting. Tip lights. Okay. I'm going to increase the throttle here with page up. I'm going to do it twice. You don't want to do it more than 2 times because it's going to make the rotor spin too fast and then it's going to cause damage to the engine. 1, 2. There you go. So that's on. There's the HUD. Switch it over to night mode. Again, I don't need it because, as you can see, everything's pretty bright. So we don't have to worry about this. Okay, so at this point, I believe we are mostly ready to take off all we have to do is remember to shut off the APU. So we're going to hit the APU shut off. Set this back to normal. We're going to leave this alone. And we are ready for takeoff. This mission is pretty automatic, so I don't need to radio the control tower that we're leaving. So we're pretty much just going to get the heck out of here and get started. So here we go. The first takeoff is always the diciest. Oh, actually, before I take off, I do have to remember to turn on the flight director autopilot, pitch hold, bank hold, and heading hold. This is important to maintain control of the helicopter, which is very unwieldy. Without the flight director, you're going to have a hard time controlling the KA-50. Just 1 second. All right. We're going to take off. So here we go. I'm going to adjust the trim. Now the trim I've customized to my own joystick, so you're going to have to, if you do decide to play this game on your own, you're going to need to decide what the trim button is going to be for you, but I'm going to guarantee you right now, you're going to need a trim button because it is the only way you're going to be able to control this helicopter reliably. Alright, we're on our way. Exciting stuff. And now that we're airborne, I'm going to raise the landing gear with G. And we're off. So you can see the Shikval is activated in the center screen there. It's blank right now because the camera is not engaged. I will engage it later on during this mission when I go to hunt down the boat that I need to land on. So if I wanted to, I can press H for the helmet mounted device. This will engage the night vision. And again, because whenever I release the joystick, you see how the helicopter pitches up like this? I don't want it to do that, and this is why we adjust the trim. When we adjust the trim, if I place it, say, right here, you see the 2 bars that move into the middle of the screen there? That tells me that is my new trim setting. I'm going to actually move it one more time because it went a little crooked. Okay, so that's my trim. When I let go of the stick, now look, the helicopter doesn't pitch up. It pitches up slightly, but it doesn't go shooting off into the sky. So that's one of the key reasons why we adjust the trim. And it's something you're going to be using very often if you decide to do any combat missions or, you know, just in general traveling. I actually really enjoy playing this. This is actually the only mission I play. I've tried to play the other missions, but I'm still struggling to learn how to use the weapon systems and lock targets, all that fun stuff. So if you don't know about Eagle Dynamics, these guys have been around since, wow, probably 2003, maybe earlier than that. Some trivia for you, if you've never heard of it, there was a game called Lock On that was published by Ubisoft. Lock On was a product from Eagle Dynamics. And then at some point, when Eagle Dynamics decided, you know what, we want to have our own little market segment or whatever, you know, kind of like how Origin created its own little platform for their EA games. Eagle Dynamics decided, you know what, all our flight sim games, we're gonna host them ourselves on our website. So when they started releasing Flaming Cliffs, which was like Lock On, you know, Part 2 or the expansion, that's when they started branching off into their own DCS store. Now, one of the things I still struggle with to this day is whether to purchase this on Steam or through the Eagle Dynamics store. When I asked on the forum, people said if you want to get the latest patches and releases, you should get it from the Eagle Dynamics store. The problem with that is that they don't have a sophisticated system like Steam. You know, they use like BitTorrents or whatever to download the games, and these games are huge. The account management system is really inferior compared to Steam. And every time I boot up the DCS World module, I never know if there's an update because I don't run it all the time, so I'm constantly playing catch up with the updates. So, okay, this means that I'm going too fast in the helicopter, so all I'm going to do is pitch up to slow it down. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase the maps. I'm going to actually increase the scale, because now we should be in the area where the stranded vehicle is. So we're going to slow it down. Going to reduce throttle a little bit. And now we're going to look for the Jeep, which will be in this vicinity. And you might even see it if you're very observant. I would love a track IR for this, or even to do this in VR, but I'm not yet to the point where I'm ready to invest in IR. I mean in VR. Track IR I technically could get, but the reason I'm a hobbyist flight simmer is because I don't really have a good home setup for doing all my flying. I have to take the joystick out of the box and plug it in and do all these things. It's not as fun. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is I'm decreasing altitude because I want to get close to where the vehicle is. And since we're gonna land, I'm gonna drop the landing gear. Oops. You can see a confirmation on the landing gear right there on the left. The 3 lights mean that all 3 wheels are down. Now, I have to be careful not to drop too quickly, because then you can get trapped in rotor wash, and that becomes a vortex or a whirlpool that'll suck your helicopter down into the ground. Alright, so I'm still climbing down. Let's see, is the vehicle here? Doesn't look like he is. Gonna pick up a little bit of speed. And we're resuming the search. I highly recommend that if you do pick up this game, you need to set up your keybinds. And it's a lot of keybinds. It's going to be extremely overwhelming. But I promise you, if you set up your keybinds ahead of time, you will have a much easier time figuring out how to control your helicopter, what buttons do what, etc., etc. And it is a learning curve. It's not easy. It took me many months just to learn how to do the basics. These kind of simulators are very hardcore, and I guarantee you that if all of a sudden you found yourself in the cockpit of a Russian helicopter and you knew how to fly it in Digital Combat Simulator, you could fly it in real life. That's how realistic these modules are. Alright, I'm going to continue adjusting the trim because I don't want it to go fast. I know the vehicle is around here somewhere. Should be able to see it. Nothing yet. We should be close to this intersection. let's slow this down a little bit more. When I turn this helicopter to the right, I'm using the rudder. I'm using the Saitek X52 joystick, so the rudder is actually on the joystick itself, and I do not have pedals. Oh, there's the vehicle right there. You see the windshield glinting in the sunlight. That's the destination. As I approach, I'm going to switch the helicopter into hover mode, and that will allow me even greater control when I'm descending down to landing altitude. Also, there is a high possibility that I will crash, because it's not easy, and I have a very difficult time controlling the helicopter. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm slowing my helicopter. On the upper left, you see the numbers going down. It's 50, 49, 40. That's my speed, so I'm going to get it under 25 and then engage the auto hover mode. Auto hover is now engaged. You can see up there on the screen. And now my flight director is all engaged. What this does is puts the helicopter in auto hover mode. And this allows me to have finer control on its descent without it picking up an enormous amount of speed. So right now we're actually dropping. Gotta be careful not to drop too fast, as I said. Rotor wash can kill you. Alright, we're at 130 meters. Is that meters? Again, this is all Russian stuff, so. Okay, that's the altitude warning letting me know that I'm very close to the terrain. And now the Jeep is right over there. So we're gonna head on over. A little bit of rudder. Tiny bit of power, we don't need too much. Tiny bit. I'm gonna increase the throttle a little bit to keep my altitude steady. I'm gonna creep on over to the vehicle. I want to get as close as possible because the driver needs to give me a document. Okay, reducing throttle again. And I don't need to necessarily park right next to him, so I don't want to get too close. Alright, we're about 5 meters up. Low enough for a landing. And here we go. We are landed. No damage to the landing gear. So that is a successful landing. I'm going to bring the helicopter just a little bit closer. There we go. Turn it a bit. I park a little bit far away because I'm not an ace. There we go. Okay, I can see the driver. He looks fine. I don't need to open the cockpit door, but I'm going to do it anyway. He's reached a glove compartment and he's got a package for me. Thanks, mate. What would I do without you? I stalled in this damn hill. I'll definitely be writing in my report about this poor state of our staff vehicles. And that is it. So we're going to close the cockpit door. Thunder 1, 637, packet is received. I am heading into the zone. Alright. Now that we've received that one, we are going to set a navigation point. Thunder 1, copy. Now floor it and proceed to the ship. Searching for our next waypoint. That's going to be the ship. I don't know, I guess reference point? That must be what it means. Gonna set it to 2. Now you see this is flashing because again, we're still in auto hover mode. and you'll see it come on once we take off. So I will have to disable it after we're in the air. Alright. Das Vidanya, comrade. We are taking off. So you see the auto hover is on. I bound the auto hover to be Alt and then my trim button, and now it's disabled. Landing gear is going up. And now we're on our way to the ship after we spin this around. Oh, and also I have to remember, right now the helicopter's a little bit more difficult to control because the flight director needs to be re-enabled like this. And now we're back to being stable. And we're going to head off to the ocean. Now, if my INU was disabled, it wouldn't know where I was heading. It would just be moving forward, but it wouldn't be turning the map. So definitely remember to turn on your INU. Now, like I said before, you're always adjusting the trim, especially in the Blackshark. So, hit the trim again. I think the trim should be good here. Alright, let's check the map size, see how far we have to go. Yep, it's quite a distance. But that's alright. I don't know why the Schickval does that little message there. No clue. Oop, too fast again. Gotta slow it down. Again, for me, these numbers are a little bit more difficult to read because it's based on like the Russian system, and I don't really know the different systems. Just an amateur. The only thing I know how to do is take off, land, and start the engine. So essentially I treat it more like a flight sim than a military combat sim. Because when you do the missions, you have a gun that fires rounds. Now, if for some reason you get bored of this part, you can always fast forward and just skip straight to when I get to the ship. I'm not going to use time acceleration because this is really intended for any flight simmers who are interested in either flying a helicopter or just getting into flight simming in general. I will not be demonstrating any of the combat stuff because I don't really know how to do it. I'm not a good person to show you. All I can show you right now is the very basics of flight and give you some pro tips on what to do if you want to get started. But if you want to do more advanced combat modules, I definitely recommend finding other YouTubers who may have more in-depth tutorials on how to control the helicopter. Got a little chimney over there. No civilian traffic today. This is a system-intensive game, so if you are interested in playing this on high, you're gonna need a beefy machine. I don't know the specs off the top of my head in terms of the processor. I think I have an Intel 4700K. I'm not 100% positive. But I do know that I have a 1080 1080 GTX. No TI or anything like that, just a regular 1080. Oh, and unlike Ace Combat, the trees will kill you, so don't crash into those either. Okay, so, since the rendezvous is out in the ocean, we can pretty much engage the Schickval in order to find where the boat is. But we're not close enough yet, so I'm not going to turn it on just yet. Soon. Also, because I'm going to be landing on a boat, I'm going to turn on the anti-collision beacons. That's going to show me a red light underneath the helicopter here. And that will bounce off of any objects. So if I'm getting too close to the hull or another vehicle or to the ground, the red lights will let me know that I need to move. We're also going to engage the Nav Lights at 100%. A little hard to see in the daylight, but I promise they are on. Alright, now we're going to engage the Schickval. I'm going to try to line this up first to where I think the boats may be. Alright, Schickval is active. I'm going to center it. And we're going to take a look and see where it could be. I'm controlling it with my joystick hat switches. Again, these are all things that I set up in the key bindings. So you want to do that before you get into the game. If you don't have your key bindings set, this game will be a nightmare to control. Okay, I've got ships. I do believe that the ship I'm looking for is right here. Adjusting the size of my box. Now, generally when you do this, this is to lock it up so you can fire a missile at it. But we're not firing a missile. We're coming in for a landing. And there is a way to lock up the Schickval. But generally that's when you're using weapons. Alright, so we're approaching the helicopter, the ship. Again, I should be adjusting the trim. Now the landing platform is very small. And this is where there is a 50% chance that I will crash the helicopter. I have gotten better at this mission. I have practiced this many times. But you never know. One mistake is all it takes to dunk into the water. I'm keeping this centered manually with my hat switches. Pretty cool, right? And that circle lets me know where the Schickval is pointing. I'm reducing throttle. Or actually, no, I'm reducing the collective. Which brings me down in altitude. Okay, now it's caged. It should be caged. Nope. Should get a radio call soon. There it is. 637 lead. I got visual contact. Distance 5. Approach is allowed. Descent to 150 meters. Okay. We're down to 150 meters. I'm going to stabilize. I'm going to remove. I'm going to disable the shakefall so I can see on my other systems. And slow the helicopter down. This part is scary. Lead, I got visual contact. Wind 286, 9 meters, I guess. You are cleared to land. Alright, this is the hardest part of the mission. So I'm going to try to slow this down. Because we're definitely going to need hover mode. Landing gear is going to be down in case something happens. Alright, continuing to slow down the helicopter. Once we get below 25, then we can engage the auto hover. If we engage it too early, the helicopter's not going to respond the way we want it to. Or too quickly, rather. Okay, auto hover is engaged. And there's the boat. Adjust the trim. Adjust the trim again. We don't want to go quickly. We want to take our time. If you don't engage the auto hover when you attempt this landing, there is a 99% chance you're going to crash. It's really essential to use the auto hover for this part of the mission. Alright, gotta make sure we don't drop too deep. Closing in on the boat. As we get closer, I might get quieter to try to focus. Again, this is not easy. And this took many months of practice. I mean, actually, you could technically say years because this thing has been out for a very long time. And we want to avoid this little antenna thing at the back of the ship. Careful not to land too early. Not to approach too quickly. Not to veer off. Again, auto hover is essential. See that there's a slight flash on the ship. Lets me know that I'm too close. Not ready to drop it down yet. Gonna drop it down very soon. And here we are. Touchdown. I can see the ship crew who are running towards me. I don't need to do this, but we're gonna do that. Excellent job. Proceed to Mishako, Novorossiysk. We wish you soft landing. Thank you. So yeah, the mission's technically not over. You land on the boat, and then you gotta leave. Lead 627, I am leading to Mishako. Good luck, guys. Alright, close this up. I'm at arrival parking. We're gonna request takeoff.
637. Взлет.
You guys probably want to see how well I landed it, right? There you go. Obviously, it's not dead center, but hey, it's pretty good, right? We go into the pass-by camera. Pretty cool, right? You need auto hover. That's all I'm going to say, and I'm going to keep repeating it. Alright, so we want to get to our final destination. Now this one is, you're going to see something a little bit different about this one. When you go to search and then waypoint, there is no waypoint for the airport that they told you to land on. So in this case, you have to go to navigation. Oops, not that one. Navigation, search, switch it over to airport. And there it is, Novorossiysk, or however he pronounced it. It's a very confusing game, I'm not gonna lie. And now we have our new waypoint. And the airport is not too far. In fact, we flew over it after we picked up the package. Alright, now, there's still a chance to really mess this up on takeoff. So you gotta make sure to give it enough power to clear the ship. And to not go forward. So I'm gonna slightly pull back on the joystick and give it a lot of power so I can get off and clear the ship cleanly. Landing gear up. As you can see, auto hover is engaged. So right now I'm just going to orient myself towards the airport. And now auto hover will be disengaged. Okay, it's off. Now remember, flight director resets. Need to turn it on. And now we're set. We're back in business. Again, we're going to be adjusting the trim. I mean, again, if you want to learn how to fly this helicopter, adjusting the trim is critical. Because otherwise, what you're going to find yourself doing, if you do attempt to fly this for the first time, your helicopter's going to go like this. Whoa! And you're going to be like, why can't I control it? And it's going to wobble around and do all this crazy stuff. And you're going to be like, this game sucks because I can't control the helicopter. But I promise you, the trim is key, and having your autopilot engaged is also key. And the reason we need to use the flight director or the autopilot is because this helicopter does not have a rotor. I mean, a rear rotor, a tail rotor rather. It only has the 2 rotor blades up top. That's it. So that fact alone makes this helicopter more unstable and more difficult to fly. So it requires the computer to help it control better. I'm really glad I didn't make a fool of myself and crash the ship. One other thing that I failed to mention is that this cockpit is technically, I believe it's supposed to be the newest version of the cockpit. There was an older version that had lower res textures and wasn't really updated for all the new modules that were coming out for Digital Combat Simulator. In fact, Blackshark 2, I believe, was one of the first modules that came out on Steam. And then after Blackshark 2 came out, A10 was next. So those are the oldest aircraft that you can fly aside from playing Lock On or Flaming Cliffs. And because it's daytime now, I don't need the panel lights. So I'm going to turn those off, and I don't need the night vision. You see the different modes there? And in the old cockpit, these lights here, the flight director lights, would not turn on. they would stay dim, and you'd be like, "Did I press it, or is it off?" So there were a lot of good improvements here. The Digital Combat Simulator games are all based on modules, and what that means is every single game is connected. So if you buy Blackshark, you can play with people who have the Tomcat module, the F-18 module, the rest of the modules. I mean, I don't really know the names because there's so many right now. So when you go into multiplayer, if you decide to go into multiplayer, you can play with other people without having to own the module, which is pretty awesome. Of course, I wouldn't want to be the helicopter pilot on a mission that has interceptor fighters, because then you're gonna get shot down. No matter how evasive your maneuvering may be, you're definitely gonna go down. But because these are all fully fledged flight sims, each aircraft model has a very detailed cockpit, radar system, weapon system, avionics system. All those modules tend to be full priced. But Eagle Dynamics does do like summer sales and Christmas sales. So if you wait around for the holidays, maybe you can get a module for 30% off or 40% off. You know, just to be patient and keep an eye out on the store. What's going on here? Is it peculiar, huh? The wind suddenly pick up backwards. Yeah, now it's gone. And the main reason I'm doing this video, you know, aside from updating all the old ones, because again, I looked on YouTube, and the most recent video of this was 8 years ago, and like, there's been so many changes to the game, to the Blackshark since that time. It felt a crime to not have an updated version. And since I now felt confident enough to take off and land on the boat, I figured that I could do the video for 2020, and then maybe sometime in the future someone else will do a playthrough of the Courier Mission several years later. Or maybe it'll be me, who knows? Who knows? But the point is, the flight simulator community is not dead. Everyone's still active, people are still around. There's definitely servers you can play in if you want to check this stuff out. So if this interests you, definitely give it a shot. I'm not active in the multiplayer community. In fact, I'm pretty sure any of the names I referenced earlier, no one knows about me. They don't know I exist. And that's fine. Because you know what? I just like to fly around, you know, controlling a Russian helicopter. And if I feel bold enough to do a mission where I gotta shoot tanks and all that kind of stuff, then I'll do that. There's no pressure. The joystick looks a little wobbly, huh? Not sure why it is like that. That's the altitude warning, but we are under control. And again, if this part is boring for you to watch, you can just fast forward to when I get to the runway. Another reason I did this video was because the current videos on YouTube don't really explain the mechanics of flying the helicopter. They don't explain the basics. It's just some hotshot pilot going in with full mastery of the helicopter, landing on a boat without any problems. And although this is fine, I do think it's necessary that in order to grow the flight sim community, there needs to be some effort done to have videos or tutorials or showing the basics to people who might be interested in picking up a game and flying. You know, the games that are done by Eagle Dynamics are generally to show off the features of the game. So for instance, when Matt Wagner creates a video, he's usually promoting a new product. So it'll be like, hi, this is Matt Wagner for Eagle Dynamics, and today I'm going to show you how to take off from an F-18 carrier. Although it serves as a tutorial, it just shows you one aspect of the module. It doesn't really go into the nitty-gritties. So for this flight, I wanted to tell you guys about turning on the INU, using auto hover, creating your keybinds. All that kind of stuff is important for you to enjoy playing a flight sim, because if you're constantly fighting with the controls, or you don't understand why your helicopter's behaving erratically, it can be frustrating and then you don't want to play. So this is just my way, as someone who is a complete novice, to show you, you know what? You can totally play, you can totally get into it, and if you spend some time into it, you'll become an even better pilot than me. And I assure you, that is not a very high bar to set. I'm a great pilot in Ace Combat, but this is not an Ace Combat. This is 100% a simulator experience. You can definitely teach yourself how to fly these things for real if you sink enough hours into it. So for any of you who enjoy flying around or are looking forward to Microsoft Flight Simulator in the future, I'd love for you to check out the Digital Combat Simulator games and just to keep it going. I think these games are a lot of fun. They're very interesting. I only wish I had a better setup or even more time to invest into these games. But there's just so much to learn, it can be a little overwhelming. So I'm just content with being able to know how to fly and being able to land on the boat, which I wasn't able to do for years. That mission had plagued me for so long that I thought I would never get the hang of flying the boat, of landing on the boat. And then when I did more tutorials and started teaching myself about the actual mechanics of the aircraft, and realizing that I was missing the key component of using auto hover and trim, that's when it all clicked. And then I was like, oh, so this is how I'm supposed to land on the boat. And that's something I struggled with for a very long time. And the reason I struggle with it is because no one is doing updated YouTube videos or tutorials on the basics of flying the aircraft or doing all these things. And the guys I mentioned earlier, the Grim Reapers, their videos tend to be really long. And this video is probably going to be long too, because flight simming is an investment of time. But hopefully this was enough to whet your appetite and get you interested in seeing other modules. Maybe trying the F-14 or trying the A-10 or trying the F-18, which will have carrier operations, which is awesome. I definitely want to try that out, but, you know, one thing at a time. Alright, so we're at the runway. We are going to initiate the landing sequence. And by initiate, I just mean I'm going to slow the helicopter down. Open up my landing gear. Slowing it down. And I'm going to engage auto hover now. Auto hover is on. And because I know they want me to land at that command post, I'm going to land on the runway and land at the taxiway that is closest to the command post. And believe it or not, I believe this mission was created by a fan? Maybe a fan? I don't think it was made by the Eagle Dynamics team. I mean, maybe it was, but there's a lot of support from the flight sim community, so it wouldn't surprise me if a fan was responsible for this mission. I don't know why the joystick moves that. Like, my joystick's pretty steady, so maybe the dead zone. Oh, I know why. My PlayStation controller is still plugged in and it's detecting the inputs from the PlayStation. My recommendation to you is that if you have a controller, unplug it. I didn't feel like unplugging it today, so that's why the joystick's acting a little weird, but it's not messing up my flight, so that's okay. Alright. Let's bring this down a little bit. Slow it down. Don't want to drift off course. Even on a runway, you gotta be careful with your landing. You don't want to get cocky and think, oh yeah, I can land this. That was just me adjusting the trim. Ooh, careful, careful. Flashing H means you're descending too quickly. Alright. Pretty much good. Can set it down here. There it is. Nice and smooth. Quick, taxi to the command post. It is located at the north end of the landing strip. Taxi directly to the building. They are waiting. Got it. So when you're taxiing, I'm using the rudder to turn the helicopter. And when I want to pick up speed, I push the nose, well, I push my joystick up to make the nose go down. And that lets me increase speed a little bit. Oops, sorry about that. You have to be really careful with this because you can flip the helicopter, and I have done it while taxiing. So imagine I did this entire run of this mission and then flipping the helicopter at the very end. That would suck. So you want to be careful with that. Feels like I'm drifting. Alright, turn it over here to the command post. Need for Speed Helicopter Edition. Alright, we're gonna pull this in. There it is. Here's the command post. I can see some movement there. Someone is running towards me.
Пакет передан.
Так точно.
Has the package been delivered? Yes. He then says something at the radio, then turns to me. Mission is successful. Good job. Shut down your bird and come join us. All the guys are waiting for you, and they treat guests well.
Моряки вас уже ждут.
Mission successful. I am intentionally moving the helicopter, so don't think that I'm just letting it roll away from me. Credits: Livenut, Script and Scripting, The Creator, Butcher, Black Dragon, FV Mad, The Pilot, USSR Rick, Texter. Special thanks go to Condor 11, translation to Inland. So you see, does that sound like an Eagle Dynamics team to you? I don't think it is. Alright. Now we don't have to do this, but I'm going to power down the helicopter. So we're going to reduce the throttle, page down twice. You hear it slowing down. And because we have landed, we're going to disable these. You see the Schickval shut off because that is dependent on the engine speed, the RPM. So once that goes below a certain threshold, that turns off. So we're going to turn that off. And the abris we're gonna turn off as well. And the rest here, now we're gonna go in reverse. So we turn off the data link. This we don't need to mess with. Set that to off. Set this to off. Did I mess with this? No, that's something else. This off. That's for the flares. UV26 off. L140 is off. INU is off. Now, here's something you'll see, or you'll notice, right? If for some reason you were just doing a flight sim and you were going to turn off the rotors, or you wanted to stop the rotors, or turn off the engines rather, this, I could be wrong, but it doesn't work. See, the RPM is still going. This is not a way to turn off your engines. Right? And you never know if this is something that you'll have to do. If you want to turn off the engines, this is the key right here. This is the engine shut off. Once you hit this, it's going to start slowing down. Ready? Engine... We'll do engine 2 first. See here, it's slowing down. Now we're going to turn off the navigation lights. Oh, you also have the windshield. You don't really need this, but if it's raining, you can turn that on. And then right click to make it go up like that. Alright, one of the engines should be off. We're also going to turn off the second engine. Or actually the first engine. Oh, sorry. There we go. That's the first engine. See, the RPM is going down. Now you see the collision lights are still on. Again, those collision lights are very handy at night, but since this mission no longer takes place at night, you don't see them as clearly. Alright, turn these off, turn those off. Formation lights are off. That's off. So those are going to keep spinning until I hit this brake. Well, we're not going to hit the brake yet because I don't mind the sound of the chopper. Okay. Weapon systems off. Ejection seat. Oops. Come on. Off. Radios. Off. APU. Fuel quantity. Inner, outer, aft, forward. We don't need to mess with this. Right generator, left generator. External AC is off. Battery number 1, off. Battery number 2, off. External, don't need to worry about that. Don't need to do this either. Brake. We're going to engage it. There it is. Are these rotor tip lights off? Or is that just the light? Yeah, they should be off. Let me check. Hard to tell on the daylight, but I think they're off. Okay. That's pretty much it. There's really not much else to do. So there you have it. That is how you fly the KA-50 Blackshark. It's a very complicated simulator, and it still works. the same way it did back when the game first came out. Nothing has really changed, including the startup sequence or the power down sequence. Alright. Open the cockpit. And now we're back to how we started. Alright. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this episode of DCS Combat Simulator. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're a flight simmer, I hope this gets you interested in flight simming or playing more flight simulator games, or even checking out YouTube videos of people who play flight sims. I had a great time with the Blackshark module, even though I struggled for years just to learn how to land on the boat and how to fly the helicopter and use the targeting system. But it feels rewarding and it's fun. So if you have the system that can handle it, and you have a joystick that you want to use but don't have any games to use it for, definitely check this out. Check out the Eagle Dynamics crew, check out Digital Combat Simulators, and see if you can find something that's right up your alley. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until then, I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for watching.